Okay, hello everybody, GamingTriax here, and welcome back to another video. Now, as you can see, we are currently playing some Starcraft 2, and it's a PvP matchup with me in the bottom left-hand corner over here, playing as GamingTriax, of course, and up here we have Sphinxy. So, it was a pretty good game. It was pretty long, but it was a good game, so I'm just going to kind of commentate over it, and we'll see what goes on. I'll talk about what I could do better and what I did pretty well. So, and also just basically what I did and why I did it. So, as you can see, I placed my first pylon out here rather than on the ramp actually. Now, normally this would be a more common strategy versus a Zerg player, but I decided to make sort of a small wall off over here just so that I can take a faster second expansion. Now also, as you can see, I had my probe over here hotkeyed up to hotkey number 2, and actually if we look at my opponent, I don't think he was using any hotkeys. Rather unfortunate because they're very helpful. So I sent out my probe just for a little bit of scouting. Now just make a note, there was a lot of friendly conversation during the video, so between the two players, so I hope you guys don't mind that. But anyway, so we're just going to take a look at some of the stuff here. So let's see, I'm trying to remember. Whoops, wrong one. Okay, there we go. So as you can see, in terms of worker supply, I believe I'm slightly ahead, 14 to 10. So kind of going to be a problem already going into this. Getting behind in worker supply is very bad. And also if we go back here, I have my gateway going up, and as does he. My gateway's a little bit ahead as he built a second pylon and both the assimilators very early. I saw both the assimilators and I assumed that he was going to go for an early starport. Though I guess at this level you can't really be sure. People are generally more just trying to follow builds that they've seen and stuff, so usually they don't do stuff with as much intention as you might expect. So anyway, my assimilator goes up here a little bit late actually. I would usually have gotten that up at around 14, but because I decided to build a proxy pylon over here, they had to go up a little late. Now the reason I put this here is basically it's out of sight of the cliff. Well, basically it gives him time to expand to the natural, and I can continue warping in units and putting on a little bit of pressure before he sees it. Just as of the fact that he's going to expand, most likely he starts off here, then he'll expand to the natural, then usually people will either go here or also here. So there is a possibility that I'll see this, but then it'll basically just tell me that he's expanding. But at least I know that in the beginning it'll serve the purpose of letting me just take a look at everything he's doing and continue sending in units very quickly. So we take a look at the army supply. As you can see, I was a little bit behind here. I was spending a lot more money on workers, because if you take a look at the income, I'm significantly ahead in terms of income, not in terms of Vespine gas so much, but in terms of actual minerals. That extra mineral count gives you a big advantage early game. So we take a look at the production tab here. As you can see, I started researching just to get weapons out pretty early now, and that's not me. He started researching just to get weapons out really early. I believe I actually didn't have a forge at the moment. Okay, yeah, sorry about that mistake, guys. Yeah, so I was actually just getting out warp gate research. I believe that so he must have started his warp gate research very, very late. Now, as I had predicted earlier, he did go for an early Stargate, though he didn't go with an Oracle Harass, which is actually what I was expecting when I saw that Stargate go up so early. So I sent in my probe here to scout again, but then I actually returned to the main to take a look at some things and left the probe there by accident. So I go back in again, and he immediately gets taken out by those 3 zealots. So I didn't get any more information off of that probe, but it's okay. At least he managed to get up the proxy pylon, and I still managed to see the 2 assimilators, and I had a good idea that he was going to go with the Stargate early on. Now granted, he didn't actually go with an Oracle Harass, which is what I had expected, but still, at least I was ready for it, and I knew he was going to be going for some early tech. So I started just getting out more gateways. I was going to try to get out 4 gateways on this nexus, and then I wanted to expand, so I got out my second nexus right now. Now, as you can see, if we take a look at army value again, I'm a little bit behind in army supply, but it's only 6 to 8. And the thing is, yeah, so basically I sent in the probe and I didn't realize that it had been killed because I was watching stuff at my main. But anyway, so the thing is, if you were to attack me now, even though he has 12 army supply versus my 6, I can still warp in units very quickly because I now have 3 warp gates, whereas he is still on, let me just get rid of that. He's still on 1 gateway, and now he does have his Stargate building phoenixes for some reason, and also he has his immortals coming out. So if we take a look over here, I was getting out more gateways right now. I was going to build 3 more and another pylon, just so that we could have as many gateways as possible on our 2 nexuses. So over here, I'm now building on my army again. So as we can see, army supply is now 12 to 14. So I'm catching up here, and as I said before, even if he were to make an early push, there's a good chance I would see it coming if he went round like that and he went by my pylon. Or if he goes around the other way, well, then I could potentially be in trouble. But the thing is, I can just warp in units so fast with all of my warp gates, it doesn't really matter that much. So as you can see over here, we've got our second nexus, and he still has not expanded. If we look at production here, he is finally getting out warp gate research, but very, very late. Now he finally moves on to his second nexus when mine is already done. And I think that this is probably where stuff started to fall apart for him, just simply because of the fact that now he was spending more money in teching up as opposed to building up his army. So as you can see, I just warped in those 2 stalkers by that pylon, and I started moving them back, and then I realized that if I did that, he would see the pylon there, so I moved it back in. I knew I would lose it, but it was worth it just to make sure he didn't see that pylon, and that gave me a very good idea of what his army was. So I saw his early immortal, and I was like, whoa, that's pretty good. What league are you? I was getting a little worried here because I thought this was, I didn't realize that this was his whole army. And I saw that immortal and it worried me. So now I started getting out my robotics bay just so that I could get Colossus, and I started building immortals crazy because I wanted to get those out just to counter what he had. I still had no upgrades, but if we just take a look at, okay, so he has a few more units killed than I do. That's okay, and workers killed. He just killed everything, whatever. Let's see. Okay, we can also take a look at minerals and gas. So as you can see, I do have quite a lot. I believe that's income there. Yeah. So in terms of income, I am still very far ahead. Though obviously in terms of Vespine gas, not really a huge problem. He's doing all right in terms of that. So I have 2 more assimilators over here. Wasn't utilizing them at first because I knew I didn't really need it. Now he does send out an observer. I didn't actually see this, but I wasn't too worried about it. Just because it turns out, as long as he doesn't see this pylon over here, it doesn't really matter. And as you can see, he had just barely missed that right there. It's right there, and his vision goes right up to here. It was very close to seeing it. So as you can see, he also couldn't quite see my army yet, and my base actually looked very small from where he put the observer at the moment. Now he does move it out afterwards, giving him a little bit more vision, but at the moment he does not really know what I'm up to. He could see the robotics bay, he could see all of my warp gates, and he could also see the starport, and he could see the robotics facility, but he couldn't see the second one going up, I don't believe. Yeah, so he couldn't see the second robo, and also he couldn't see my second nexus at the moment. So if you take a look over here, sorry about the clicking. So now if we just take a look at the workers again, wait, wrong tab, sorry. I'm pretty bad at that. Okay, so we take a look at workers supply. I'm very far ahead, and now with that Colossus coming out, also pretty far ahead. I did send in a couple more scouting units over here. So yeah, as you can see, now he sees my second nexus and my army over here, but now by this point I'm kind of quite far ahead. I'm warping in units very quickly. I have out my Colossus and he's kind of behind. So I think he realized that, and he started ramping up his production here on both his facilities, but he was focusing more on air, and yet he didn't really go with an early air attack, which is what I was really expecting to see. So if you take a look back at my base, I hadn't warped in any units for a while. I believe I do so pretty soon. but we're both just continuing production. But as you can see, I do still have a lot more income than him. So with that extra income, I'm able to work on extended thermal lance, weapons. I'm able to just get a lot more upgrades and things than he is, just giving me kind of quite a bit of an advantage. So as you can see, he did send out, I believe that was Sentry or Zealot, I can't remember exactly, sorry, but so I was going to just go back. I saw a couple other units. I couldn't tell if I'd killed them all or not. So, but I do warp in a ton of units, and as you can see now, the ability to warp in 5 units at the same time is really going to provide an advantage for me. And I did have my Void Race coming out now. Also, I sent out an observer just to check up on his army, and this is when I realized that that was literally all the army he had. I mean, he had a couple units over here. He did have his mothership core, but other than that, he really didn't have that much. He was very behind. He was just not focusing enough on building units. He was just going a bit too slow, and he was just not keeping up with my unit production. So, because as you can see now, I'm getting out my second Colossus, and I have my Void Ray up here. And now, if we take a look at everybody's vision, I have a pretty clear idea of what he's doing, of his army and everything. And if we take a look at his vision, he really has no idea what I've got anymore. He doesn't realize that I've got more Colossus on the way. So, just joking around with him, nice base. Just hinting that we both just hinted that we head up observers, checking out what everyone's doing. So anyway, as you can see, he's now working on his mothership actually, which was somewhat surprising to me. I didn't actually really expect him to do that, because it didn't provide a huge advantage to him considering the size of my army. Now, as you can see, I did just warp in 3 more stalkers here, just to take a look at what he had. Even though I had the observer over here, I just wanted to sort of distract him, keep a little bit of pressure up. I know, I don't believe I actually killed any units. I might have killed 1. Okay, so I killed 1 unit, 1 unit, but I didn't really care that much. I actually managed to save 1 stalker. I was more just worried about trying to put up a little bit of pressure, and also I kind of had an idea that the mothership core was going up, so gave me sort of an advantage here. I have a much better idea of what exactly it is that he's doing. As you can see, he sees basically nothing of my base, but I can see basically everything he's got. I have my observer over here, I have the pylon over here checking checking to make sure there's no expansion, and then I have the stalker over here checking to make sure he hasn't expanded up here. I didn't actually check, but I knew he hadn't, and if he were to expand, I would see it. So that kind of gave me an advantage there. And as you can see now, he's finally getting up extended thermal lance, probably going to try to get out some Colossus. But he did have the Dark Shrine. I'm guessing he was going to go for some Dark Templar actually. So now he's getting out his Colossus, and except now I'm building my 3rd, or maybe I'm building my, I'm building my 4th Colossus. So he's kind of very behind in terms of that. If we take a look at the army supply, I'm now 117 to 42. So very far ahead, because he just simply hasn't been building units. He didn't have the ability really to warp in as many units as I did, simply because he only has 4 Stargates right, 4 warp gates right now, whereas I have all of these. I believe that's what, 7. So kind of advantage there, and especially early game, I had quite a big advantage. So if we take a look at my vision again, I can now see his mothership, but I wasn't particularly worried about it. I knew that he would, I don't know. I knew it was there, and I knew it might cause some problems, but I wasn't worried simply because of the fact that he has such a small army. So if we take a look at everything, he does get out 1 Colossus there finally. And I do send up my stalker just to make sure there is no expansion, just to make absolute certain. So I have now hit supply limit, and I decide, so basically I have no option. I need to first of all send out probes to expand, get a 3rd. And with all of my Colossus and stalkers and everything, I have no option but to push out now. So I have an observer over here, and I also always keep 1 in my army. I believe there should be 1 somewhere here. Let's see. Maybe not. That's you. Okay, here we go. So I always keep an observer in my army. Also, I had an idea that he was probably going to get Dark Templar, even though I'm not sure if he did. But I just wanted to keep the observer there, just keep me a little bit safe. So as you can see, I did push around this way. Now it probably would have been a better idea for me to go around the other way, and I realized that afterwards, but then I decided, you know what, I know exactly what his army looks like, and I know what mine looks like. I have a pretty good idea that I should just push out right now. So as you can see, if we take a look at his vision, he really had no idea that I was coming. I don't think he even saw my observer over here. So I mean, he did have a decent army at the moment, but it still took him a while to realize that my army was here. And now finally, he sees me coming, and this is the final battle. But basically with his units, he simply just didn't have enough units to handle everything that I had. I mean, he did have a few Void Rays up here, and he did have his couple Colossus, but that was basically everything that he had. So then I was able to just easily go in. I was even able to warp in more units back here and just send them up to the front lines. That proxy pylon gave me a huge advantage. Just the ability to continue warping and reinforcements is really a big advantage when you're in a battle like this. Just because I don't have to send in things all the way across the map like he would have had to make an attack. So as you can see, at this point it's basically GG. He has one more High Templar there. I decided to just go and take it out. He has really nothing. He has no cans or anything, and he could have warped in some more units, but that was kind of GG. I was able to just continuously warp in reinforcements if need be, and I was on 3 Nexuses. So that was the whole game, guys. As you can see, it was a pretty good game. My opponent was much lower. Hopefully I can get up some more competitive games soon, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Anyway, for now, this has been GamingTriax. Please subscribe and like the video and leave any comments because I read them all. And I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.